Dr. Owusu Ochoa. It's Dr. O for the 804. As the premier knee and hip shoulder sports surgeon in Virginia, I would like to remind you that health equals power. Sports build and uplift communities, nothing else can. The mission of sports medicine is to keep athletes of all ages and levels at the top of their game. Dr. O is located at Ortho, Virginia, Schrader Road office location. Appointments can be scheduled online at orthovirginia.com or by calling 804-939-6688. You can follow Dr. O on Instagram at Dr. O _ for the 804 and uplifting educational content about sports health.
Hi everyone, I'm Coach Rick Stockel. I am co-owner of Newman & Dunn Real Estate here in Central Virginia, as well as I am a high school boys basketball coach at Monacan High School. I've sold over 1,300 homes here in Central Virginia, and I would love to work with you and your family in your home buying needs. I am a proud primary sponsor of Ballin' in Virginia, and I hope you enjoy this show.
Welcome to another episode of Ballin' in VA. And I keep telling y'all, man, we bringing in the hits. Today, my guest is Blessed Sacred Huguenot, current coach, and the 4-time state champion coach from Monacan High School, and recent retiree, Mr. Larry Starr. And I had to have a special guest also, man. I appreciate this guy. We text, we talk. And anything I ask, man, you know, Coach always comes in here. Coach R.J. Spelsberg from the boys, head coach at Monacan High School. Thank you, Coach, for coming in. Thank you, Coach, for coming in. How y'all doing?
I'm doing great. And I do want to thank you for asking me to be on the podcast. I've watched some of your podcasts and I enjoy them. And, you know, I'm kind of a forgotten person now. So somebody call and ask me, oh, yeah, I'll come.
R.J., do you agree with what he just said?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me back. I'm truly excited, and it's an honor to be here to talk about Larry Starr, one of my closest friends and a great coach. And it's about time that he gets some notoriety and some respect.
Well, man, you know, this is what we do here. So, you know, I want to send a shout out to Rick Stockel, man, as well, because what Rick does for me, you know, besides Dr. O, man, it wouldn't be this platform without those two gentlemen. But Rick, you know, he's just so genuine, and just, you know, anything that he, you know, and I especially got to give it to RJ, because I'm there at Monacan just out by mistake, you know, and just talking to RJ, man, and say, hey, man, go talk to Rick. And now we're here. So I just want to thank you. I never forget what he did for me. So I just want to just appreciate you, Coach, for doing what you did. But we're here today, man, to celebrate you and give you your flowers for what you have done. You know, I've been in Chesterfield for about 25 years. And I think that was probably 2003. And at the time, I'm trying to think, you were assistant with Coach Natalie White during that time?
Correct.
Okay. That was during the Jasmine Young era.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so,
my daughter played.
And your daughter played as well. So kind of give us, can you just start your story from where did it all start and bring us here to now? Because we want to give you your flowers, man. We want to give it all to you, bro.
Well, as far as coaching is concerned here in Virginia, you know, I had my own AAU program called Virginia Explosion.
Okay.
And so I was actively involved, and AAU was different back then than it is today, right? So we'd have 6 or 8 teams, and I had a lot of high school kids. That's how I ended up meeting Natalie, because I asked Natalie to coach my 15s that year, and she came on board. And I'll get back to that Natalie story. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
As far as getting to Monacan, but so anyway, I was coaching AAU, and I really wanted to make a career change, and I was 40 years old. I made a career change, and I got hired at Amelia Academy for the boys' job.
Okay.
And the reason they brought me in was they wanted somebody from the outside that knew a little bit about basketball, because they had recruited 2 Venezuelans in there. One, Jesus Urbina, ended up being on the George Mason Final Four team, still playing pro ball in Europe. Another one, Gustavo Lucina. So I was there, even though I wanted to coach girls, I was there coaching those guys, and we had the best record that they had till that time, up till that time, and got beat, upset actually, in the state quarterfinals by Miller School. And so, to make a long story short, how I ended up getting at Maggie Walker the next year was Dinwiddie had contacted me about taking their girls' job.
Okay.
And so I went, and I can't remember the people's names, but I went down and talked to the AD, and then my plan was, because at the time I lived in Colonial Heights, I was going to move my older daughters down here to play at Dinwiddie. So that was my plan, and my two older daughters were pretty good ball players. So I resigned from. I was teaching at Amelia Academy. I resigned from Amelia Academy, and at that time they hired, and you might remember the guy's name. I can't remember. He coached St. Vincent's.
Andy Janto.
Andy Janto. So they hired. So Andy was brought on board.
Okay.
And I had resigned. 2 days before school's out at Amelia, I get a call from the AD, who's no longer there, and he said, "I need you to come down and see me." I said, "Everything okay?" He said, "Just come down and see me." I had resigned my teaching position, which I had just made this career change, right? And the coaching position, thinking I was going to get the Dinwiddie job, and they were going to find me a teaching position. And I go down and talk to the AD, and the principal turned around. The assistant boys coach complained that they didn't offer him the girls' job. He went in. The principal said, "Well, I make all those decisions." Hired the assistant boys coach, who only lasted 1 or 2 years. Hired the assistant boys coach, and I was left out in the cold. And at that time, I was coaching AAU. So I don't know if you remember Bo Jones, or not Bo Jones, Bo Hobbs. Do you remember Bo?
Yep. Yeah. He passed away.
Coached at TJ. One of his girls was playing AAU for me, and he, because Maggie Walker had just split from TJ, they were part of TJ, and so he knew the ADs, so they called me to interview for the girls and the boys job. And well, I thought it was for the girls job, but I get there and they start pushing me to the boys, and I said, "Am I interviewing for the girls or the boys?" Said, "Well, we don't know yet." And I said, "Well, either way, I'm fine." But I had an 8th grader at Colonial Heights who played for me at Monacan, who was a good player, played in college. I wanted to bring her to Maggie Walker, but Colonial Heights didn't support Maggie Walker at the time. So that's another long.
Yeah, I heard about that story.
But anyway, so I get hired as a girls coach, and they had somebody in mind to be the head coach, and they had RJ in mind to be the boys coach.
Okay.
And that's how we met. And they said, if I wanted a girls job, they just asked me to bring this coach on as the assistant, which I had no problem, right? And so I took the girls job. RJ ended up taking the boys job in the first year, and that's how we became friends. I was 40 and he was right out of college.
24, 25 years old.
All right. And he acted immature like he is now, but it was a lot more immature back then. And, but anyway, so we end up coaching at Maggie Walker. I think first year I won 5 games. Second year I won 6 games. We're playing everybody in the Colonial district. It wasn't like it is now, where you pick and choose who you play. And so, but I had a couple good players, and we did fine. But my daughter couldn't get into Maggie Walker, and then Natalie White came to me during AAU tryouts when she was going to coach my 15, and she said, "Hey, you see that girl?" It was a Monacan girl. I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's going to be one of your players." I said, "Man, what are you talking about?" She said, "That girl's going to end up playing for you at Monacan." I said, "What are you talking about, Natalie?" And she said, "I'm going to get you over to Monacan to teach and coach with me, and then I'm going to resign, and you're going to take the head job." I thought she was pulling my leg, And so I owe Natalie a lot. And sure enough, she went to the AD and principal, got me an assistant assistant coaching job and teaching job, and Jasmine Young was a junior,
Junior.
and she said she was going to stay 1 year, and then my daughter Meredith was coming as a freshman, and then I would take it. Well, we had a lot of success that year, lost state quarterfinals, and she said she wanted to stay 1 more year. I said I'm fine till that senior class graduated, and I said no, I'm totally fine. And so as soon as that was over, and she stepped aside, I got the job, and her and I have remained friends to this day. But if it wasn't for her, I would never have been at Monacan.
Wow. See, that's a backstory that I didn't know. It is not. I didn't know it was that deep. Wow.
And let me tell you something real quick.
No, go ahead.
My middle daughter played at Monacan against Natalie's team when she was at Colonial Heights,
Okay.
and Colonial Heights upset them. And Jasmine, I think, was a freshman that year, so they were young, right? But Mallory, my middle daughter, had 20-some points, And I'm sitting there. I didn't know Natalie from Adam. I'm sitting in the Monacan gym, and I'm thinking, I said, because I was coaching at Maggie Walker, right? I'm thinking, man, how cool would it be to be the Monacan coach, to be in here? So I'm thinking, I'm kind of daydreaming, And this was 2 years before it happened, before Natalie got contacted me. And so I'm sitting there, and it was a physical game, but Colonial Heights ended up winning. And I'm just sitting there daydreaming about, I'd love to be the Monacan coach someday, coaching in that little gym that we had. And that ended up being the reason I called Natalie to coach my 15-year-old AAU team.
Okay.
I was just seeing her coach at there, and she wanted to carry some of her players, coach them together in AAU. So that's kind of how that all came about. So then I got the head job at Monacan, and we had a lot of success. We were always good. I think back when we had the old AAA, AA, single A, we probably made it, I'm guessing 6 to 8 times to the state quarterfinals. Couldn't get past. Got beaten in state quarters every time.
Yeah.
And
it was tough.
Yeah, every time we would get beaten in state quarters. And then until that 2015 team came with all those freshmen. And then that year we finally, so I've actually never been to the state semis. Leslie this year made state semis, lose to Hampton, right? I never got to state semis. Always beaten the state quarters or win the state championship, one or the other. We never got, got beat in the state semis. So that's kind of how that worked. And then I stepped out in 2000 after 2000. 21-22 season, I had to step out last year because of my pension plan at Monacan. You're not allowed to do anything extra.
Okay.
I stepped out a year early. I stepped out for 2 reasons. I stepped out, one was to make sure Leslie got that job. She would have probably gotten it anyway. But the other reason was my weight had ballooned to 325, and so I started getting dizzy on the sidelines, and so I was done. But I told RJ, Les, and Kara, I told them back in October, November, this is my last year, and they said, "Oh, you're full of crap. You're full of,
Yeah, I can see
full of
that.
crap." And
There were some arguments about that.
yeah,
I'm sure there was.
Some fun arguments.
yeah. So I would leave. We'd be at the Flying Pig, and I would leave, and they would all, and our AD Danny Parsons would say, "I think he's really stepping out." And I had planned, but we wanted to keep it from the girls, and the girls never found out. So that was great. And then we got upset. It was a team that should have won a state championship, and we got beat by Louisa with no fans because of COVID, right?
COVID, yeah.
No fans, and if we played them 10 times, we would win 9. The one time we just couldn't buy shots, and we couldn't make any shots. We outplayed them the whole game. We were in the lead the whole game, and I knew whoever won that game was going to walk with a state championship. They won a state championship by 40, and then in the fourth quarter, last 3 minutes, they pulled ahead. We just couldn't score, and so that was kind of a negative thing that happened at the end. I love the kids, but that's a game we really should have won.
Man, I tell you, and again, this is what I try to explain to people in Chesterfield, what people on the other side of town. Monacan has always been known for the girls program. It's always been that way. From the 90s, all the way, through the 2000s. It's always been that way. And they always say that every 10 years, you always get, from 8 to 10 years, you get a new player that's kind of a transcendent player to kind of take your program to that next level. We talked about, with Tiffany Bauer, when she came in, 2 years from Clover Hill, and she went to Monacan and finished out. And then you got Jasmine Young coming in, and then you get Megan Walker. That kind of just took the program, to a whole different era. What do you remember about that group, that freshman class that came in? Because it was just Megan. It was
that class was unbelievable. First off, to win a state championship, you got to have talent and you got to have some luck, right?
Right.
But that class came in and they were all freshmen, and so we had Megan. We had Jaden, who came from Providence. Alex Parson came from Providence. All three D1
Yeah,
players.
my girls was there.
Yeah.
Was there.
Jasmine Norman, who could have been a D1, played D3.
Big shot Jazz.
Right. And we had the ultimate role player in Abby Ogich. Well, that was the next year as she came in. But that freshman team, we had 7 kids on it that ended up playing either college basketball or one played college soccer. The rest played college basketball. And I had a good team returning. I had Michaela Parson. I had Jessica Rawls. So I had a pretty good team returning that I knew we were going to be good. How I got them together, I'm not sure how it was going to work. So back then at open gyms, you weren't allowed to coach and stuff. So we had our first open gym when school started with those girls. And I said, Bill Bays was my assistant at the time. I said, hey, Bill, we are going to have the freshmen versus the returning varsity. And we're just going to let them play. And, we're going to see how this goes. Oh my God. You know what it reminded me of? When the 2000 was a Dream Team. What year was a Dream Team?
The original one?
The original, 92.
Yeah.
It reminded me of what you see when they had their first scrimmage together, closed door. They talked about
and everybody talking.
Man, these two teams went at it. It got ugly. It got physical. And it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And my returning varsity players, they were pretty tough too, physically. And so they started getting real physical. Well, the freshmen started getting physical back. And I'm sitting there with Bill. I said, oh my God, we're going to be good. I said, look at this. But 20 minutes into the scrimmage, I had to stop it because somebody's going to get hurt. That's how physical it got at that point. But that's when I knew we were going to have a very talented team. And that year, when I had the freshmen and the returning, that's another year we probably could have won a state championship, and we got upset by
Someone the first year?
Woodrow
Wilson.
Right.
That don't get me started. Coach.
Listen, don't get me started.
Coach, don't get me started on that game.
They had a 6'5", 6'3", right? The girls didn't even go to school there. I found out because they played AAU with Alex that they were taking 1 or 2 classes a week there, and they were being homeschooled, and that didn't come out till after the season. And those 2 girls killed us in that game. Yep. It was a close game, but again, we win that game, we probably win the state.
Yeah, because y'all was up pretty big that game, Coach.
Right. If you remember,
I remember
my 2 superstars, Megan Walker, Michaela, could not make a free throw in the fourth quarter.
They could not.
And so if I remember correctly, I think we missed 11 free throws in the fourth quarter, which would have put the game away.
And they was coming back, they kept missing the free throws, and those girls kept hitting the threes. And I said, if they get this game back under 10 in the fourth quarter, and they got it to 9, and that girl hit the 3 at the buzzer, I said, this is not going to be good. And keep in mind, and for me, and this is just for me, you still had Sydney Archie that was on that team that was hurt.
Exactly.
And I tell people,
all season.
She was all season. And I said, if you had her, I said it's a 4. I told everybody in the 8th grade, I said, they're going to win 4. What are you talking about? They got enough to win 4.
And that's what I thought. I thought we would win 4.
I thought so.
But things happen, and so in that particular game, they hit some shots down the stretch. I still feel that they had 2 illegal players, but the coach, and they're not Wilson anymore, is a friend of mine.
Yeah, they get Banner now.
Don't
Yeah.
throw him under the bus because I do like him. But the thing is, just things went just like the Louisa game years later. We just couldn't buy a shot, and then when Megan and Michaela getting on the line and just not making some of those shots,
Right.
that hurt us. But you can look at anything that turns
To turn the game around.
and our defense, we let those big girls bully us a little bit on the board.
There were some big girls.
Right. And so that hurt us. But yeah, so I'm like you. I thought we had a chance to win 4. That was a big disappointment. I will tell you, I didn't think anybody could stop us after that. The problem was losing Michaela Parson, Jessica. Those were really, really big losses. But the freshmen coming up were incredible. And then that next year, we end up starting 4 sophomores and 1 freshman, Abby Ogich, who was a 5'10" post, but she was just a ball of fire. She did exactly what we needed her to do.
The perfect role player, as I would say.
That's exactly what she was. And so that same starting lineup started for 3 years. And you don't get to do that very often,
Not in this day and age when kids want to transfer schools and go play with. I want to play with my best friend over here at this school. I'm just like, God, I'm in the competition. Well, go ahead, coach.
No, so I just, that was a great team. We had great players, but that was really what I considered the start of the dynasty. And so where we went with that team, and which we can talk about in a second, was great. But that's one of the reasons that 2020-21 team that we got the state championship game canceled was so special because it was a brand new team. We had a couple freshmen that never played with Megan and them, and it was a brand new team, and they didn't have the talent that 2017 team had. But man, they were a team and they could play. And so when you ask me if we beat Hampton, everybody in the state would have thought Hampton would have destroyed it.
Yes, Hampton was loaded that year.
I'm the one person to believe 100% we would win that game. And only because I knew my players. And those players weren't, we didn't have the talent Hampton did, but we were tough defensively. We were physical. We weren't taking anybody's crap. And I 100% believe we would have won that game.
I wish we missed the COVID. Thank you for messing something up, COVID. I mean, you just really just messed
A lot
up
of
the whole
talk
thing.
about that game.
That game because I was ready. Matter of fact, I had just started my podcast that year, so I was like, man, I had did an interview with Shonda Bailey. That time I was just like, man, I can't wait. So I was just like, man, we ready to get it to roll, But going back, during that time, you still had Highland Springs that was still one of the best teams in the city during that time. It was
Right.
Monacan on the south side. You had East End. Now, y'all only played once, and that was at the Siegel Center during the Time-Dispatch. It didn't come out in your favor.
No.
Um,
Best thing that could have happened to us.
tell us why. Tell us.
Well, let me just tell you. First off, they beat us by 25. And I understand we beat them a few years later with that other team, okay, in the Times-Dispatch. But that year, everybody was looking forward to that game, right? And they just destroyed us. And what I saw, that was their junior year. That was my kids' junior year, Megan and them. And what I saw was a lot of immaturity. This thing started going away from us. My kids are pouting on the bench. The one person that didn't pout was Megan Walker. She would sit on that bench and she, come on, guys, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this, which really impressed me about her. She never gave up, right? My other kids did. And, so it was a great lesson for us because then we won 54 straight games. Had it not been for that loss, if that loss hadn't happened to us, we probably wouldn't won the state championship game in 2017 because I felt like if we had gone undefeated that season, we wouldn't have gone undefeated the next season. You know, there's some mental stuff there, but that was the best thing that could happen to us because then we destroyed everybody, and we went into the state championship game, and I still remember this. We scored 93 points pulling away on William Fleming, I think it was. We beat them by 35, 40 points. We scored the most of any boys or girls team in the state championship in the United States because I checked it out on Max.
Oh well, okay. You told me something new.
No, I checked it out on Max Preps that year. So
And a
we had
big game
scored
by
the most.
Jaden Morris.
Right. Jaden had 33 in the first half. And but the thing was, I knew we were peaking, and I knew that we were going to destroy them. But then they showed up 15 minutes before game time, walking into the gym. I'm thinking, how do you show up 15 minutes before the state championship game? We're out there shooting, warming up, and I said,
This is Kings Fort? What school was it? Oh, Fleming.
this is
Fleming. Wow.
Their junior year. And I said, you know, we were going to destroy them before, but now they're not going to know what hit them. And they didn't. The press, we just stole the ball.
Yeah, I was there.
Jaden was unconscious in the first half.
Yeah, she was hitting everything.
33 points in the first half, which I'm sure is a record. And again, you look at Alex Parson was the cog that made that team go, right? She was going to distribute the ball anyway. But even
Perfect point guard.
Megan just distributed to Jaden that first half, distributed to Jaden. She would pass up stuff to give it to Jaden because Jaden was hot. And, you know, and you got to have that chemistry, right? And sometimes that chemistry worked for us, sometimes it worked against us. But that team was so special. Alex Parson, one of the best point guards of all time in the state, I think. The thing is, she could have scored 20 points a game. She scored 9 points a game because she distributed the ball because I had Jaden that needed to score. I had Megan that needed to score. And she distributed that ball. She knew what her role was. We go down and play some of the top teams in the nation in Myrtle Beach. And Jaden gets sick, gets taken to the emergency room. And we're playing the number 6 team in the nation. Like, it was a Georgia team. I can't remember. And I said, Alex, you got to score today. Man, I need you to light it up today because we don't have Jaden. And then her and Megan lit it up, and we ended up winning by 4 or 5 points against them. And so you had the perfect point guard. You had the defensive specialist that was the best on-the-ball defender maybe that I've ever coached, in Jasmine Norman, right?
You had some players now. That's saying a lot of big shot Jazz.
Abby Ogich, who was the ultimate role player, would battle with 6'4" post, 6'3" post. And of course, you had Megan, who was the best in the nation. And you had Jaden, she's
like your Swiss Army knife. She does everything.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a phenomenal team. And then, you know, that led into our next year, which our goal was to go undefeated. Our goal was, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. We were in the next year. Our goal was to go 30-0, you know, go undefeated. Our goal was to be ranked in the top 5, 10 in the country. We got ranked number 2 at one point. And then when we only won a state championship game by 1, they dropped us to 7th. You know, back then, like John Marshall boys last year got to go to the national championship. We got invited, but we weren't, VHSL wouldn't let us go. But at that point,
mark it down.
yeah,
I'm going to mark
That's
that.
a question to ask somebody important.
Yeah.
it still upsets me today. But
It's not fair.
we
We got to talk about that. Hold up. Let's talk about that right now. Let's go. We got time. You know, because I got questions for you too, Coach. Both of y'all can answer this question. How did you finish with a high ranking? What was the reason that VHSL said that y'all couldn't play the game?
because I don't know, I can't remember the exact rule,
But
there was a rule. We were limited to the number of games, and we could not go as Monacan High School. And John Marshall went, but they didn't go as John
they
Marshall.
went as
The Justice.
the Justices, right?
Right. So that's how they got around the rule. But nobody ever brought that to my attention that we could do that.
Right.
And I will tell you, in all fairness, had we played Christmas against any team in the country, we would have won. We were peaking at Christmas. And that's when we were beating all the top 10 teams, top 20 teams we were playing. the end of the season, kids are kids. They start believing nobody can touch them, and you could feel it. You could feel it starting to slip away. So when we won that state championship game, I felt like we were done. I just didn't think we had anything left in us. My practices are very hard and they're very demanding. So these kids have been doing this for 4 years. They won 54 straight games. I don't know that we had it in us, but maybe if we were allowed to go to that thing, maybe we would have found, a second wind and been able to compete, but it is what it is. But yeah, no, they told us absolutely not that we couldn't go. And but I will tell you, I think Riverdale Baptist won the national championship that year.
They did.
If we had played them Christmas time, we would have beaten them. That team was just clicking on all. I tell you, man, I used to sit because I'm a very animated coach, right? I used to sit there on the sideline. I'd be sitting next to Bill, and then Leslie is there at the time, and stuff is just flowing. I said, "Oh my God, how good are we? We are so good." And when I knew that that year, I called Paula Six. They were preseason ranked.
I was there because
700 fans at Monacan.
it was crazy because my best friend daughter, matter of fact, her sister, that's on the wall right there. Her sister played for Paula Six on that team.
Oh, really?
She was one of the guards on that team, and we was at the game. I was like, okay, I gotta sit here. I'm like, okay, I got orange on and I'm gold and black on this side, because she sent the daughter to their school because I was telling my son played at Trinity, and she was like, oh, you know what? Because she was at North Stafford, and then she transferred to Paula Six, and they won 3 straight. Ashley Owusu was on that team.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, y'all came out on fire.
Oh, 29. I still remember 29.
Oh my God.
First quarter.
That first quarter, I was like, I'll put this team up against anybody. I was like,
and you know what? And the fact of the matter is, we won when our stars were against their stars. Where we lost was when we subbed out.
Yep, that's when the game changed.
Yeah, and he really didn't do a lot of subbing at that point. So they made up points then, but I didn't care. It was a scrimmage. And I saw what I wanted to see. And, that's the second time I did that. Years before that, Notre Dame Academy up near Fredericksburg, they were ranked number 1 in the nation. I called them when I had Kansas Silas. I had a pretty good team. I think Karen Leswell on that team, maybe.
I was going to say.
And we went up there to scrimmage them, and they beat us by 20, but we were able to hang a little bit. So it was a big confidence builder for us. Well, then I saw Paula Six had come out preseason number 1 or 2 or 3. And I called him and I said, we'll come up there and play you. He said, man, my gym is being used. We'll come down to your place. I said, okay. So we announced it, and then all these people were there. It was like
it was a Saturday.
700 people
I
there.
remember. It was a Saturday morning.
Yeah, and but that was when my eyes were open. Like, I don't know that anybody can beat us this year, and that's what I thought after that game. We were really peaking. We were really clicking on all cylinders because these kids had played together for the 4 seniors since they've been freshmen.
Right. And then I remember the girls played together in middle school because Megan was the one that went to Manchester Middle.
And the other ones were
and Russell went to Providence.
And so these kids had played together. They were clicking. They worked hard. So yeah, it was some fond memories of that.
I'm gonna just say the 2017 class was the best class. That just go ahead and just say that the 2010s. We're just gonna go ahead and say that my son was part of that class. So I'm just saying. So just remember that. But I'm gonna ask Coach RJ a question because again, this is the thing that I just said previously, Coach. You just got there with 2015, right? 2014.
14,
okay.
15 was my first.
Okay. Now, you're walking in the door, and we know that Monacan is known for the girls. Now, I'm going to ask you a kind of 2-part question. One, how did you feel taking on the boys' job, knowing that this school was always about the girls? And 2, when they were winning championships, and I know y'all shared one year, how had you had to manage between the success that the girls was getting and you're on the boys' side of it?
Well, first of all, I was excited to, coach at Monacan, and Larry helped me get the job because of our previous relationship with Maggie Walker. In that first year, I walked in the open gym, And I told my assistant, I don't know, I may have even told Larry, I was like, Larry, there's a lot of talent here for the boys. I said, I think I'm going to win. I think I'm going to win. And I said, I think I could get to a state title. And I even said that in open gym, just looking at the players. And the first year, like I said, in the past, we won 11 games. But I really do think that class of 17 with the girls and the boys, they were so tight.
They were.
Together.
All of us was tight for middle.
I remember saying at my end of the year party after my first year in 14-15, I said, guys, I want to be like the girls team. I want to win a state championship. And like Larry was sitting there watching Natalie's game, like, oh man, it would be great to coach with Monacan. I was watching his state championship game the year before going, wow, that would feel cool to win a state championship. And so the boys, I think, fed off of how good the girls were, and they wanted to feel that. They wanted to be like that. So I think that helped us momentum-wise too. They're like, wow, we can do this. And to his point about Highland Springs, they lost to Highland Springs one year. The year we won a state championship, we beat them in the Times Dispatch tournament. And I think that's when our boys are like, we can do this. We can play basketball. So, but Larry, being such a friend, and I worked with him before, like I didn't feel any pressure. I just wanted, I think it brought everybody, like, we want to be, like, we're one program. We want to be known as Monacan basketball. He's done great things with the girls, but I think it spurred my boys on to be competitive. Now, we won that one year, but we went back 3 more times with 3 different teams, like 3 different full of different players. So we've been competitive. We've kept it going a little bit. But just being at Monacan and feeling what those girls did, I think it helped my boys.
And I just wanted, like I said, I want to give you kudos too, as much as I'm giving, because you've been on my show before, but I was giving Coach Starr his flowers. You have changed the program, Coach, because again, you winning that state championship, which nobody's seen that coming at all. I mean, other than what you were saying, because on the outside it was like, man, they got a good team. I know that class was great, but it was a lot of great teams around the state. And I'm just sitting there like, man, just on paper, everybody has had a lot of big names. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, and I just think you and your staff did a hell of a job coaching that team, because like I told Rick the other day, my son went somewhere else because I just wasn't, but this is before you got there, I just wasn't as confident in the coaching staff because of who they had at the time. And that's why I sent my son elsewhere, because my son would have graduated in 17. So I know what was there, but I still came and supported. And now, what you said when you call Monacan, you don't just say Monacan's a girls program. You call Monacan a basketball program in general, because you got the boys and the girls who are doing fairly well. And I just want to give you that, man.
And with that being said, like, you think I just coach the boys and Leslie or Larry coach the girls, but we meet up after like every game. So they sit in the stands for my game. I sit in the stands for their game. And we're like, this kid needs to do this better. Maybe you should try this. Or this kid's doing this. Or so we help each other more than you think. We go to Larry's games at Blessed Sacrament Huguenot. So it's like they're just we're a part of each other. Like, we help each other out. And I think when you can have coaching staffs that get along on your boys and girls side, all the teams can be successful. Both teams can be successful. And that doesn't mean you're going to win a championship every year, but I think you can help each other out. Like, Larry helps, like, I don't teach at the school. Larry and Leslie help my kids out at school. If they're getting in trouble or if I need something, or, so it's more to it than just basketball that makes culture, a successful program. It really is. And that's kudos to Larry, and what he's done there has helped me, if that makes any sense.
No, it does, because Larry, you started this thing. Like I said, I would, my nephew graduated in 2010, and that was when Sean Armstrong and that class in there. Again, you had Gabby and everybody, that Candace Silas. I mean, you had a lot of players that come through there, and you put a lot of players in school. So this wasn't like, people who don't know, that's like, oh, he just had Megan Walker. No, you was kind of building this thing up to this point now. And like I said, on the boys' side, we called it the 23236 zip code. Cause we was like, man, when we gonna be able to be competitive? The girls are always competitive. The boys, we just could not get to that level. And like you said, the girls will at least make it to the state quarters and stuff like that. So again, I live in the community, I'm part of it. But again, I went elsewhere. So just to see it grow the way it is growing, I'm just glad that you guys allowed me to be able to interview you guys, because y'all could have been like, oh, you trader, you going right ahead. You know what I'm saying? Just go about your business. But I moved into the zip code, as I said on the previous episode, because to go to that school. I knew some people that went there. I wanted to be there. And that's why I moved into the zone. But
But it,
didn't happen.
it's really cool that we both kind of started out as high school coaches at Maggie Walker, and we had some great players. And I probably wouldn't be the coach I was today if I didn't go through everything I went through at Maggie Walker. I'm sure he'll tell you the same thing.
Same thing.
But just to win it on the same day, and to reunite it in a school, years later. I mean, that, like, it's storybook. You can't
It
really,
is.
you can't
No, and
you can't make it up.
One thing I wanted to say, when you look at family, that year, the 2016, when we both won the state championship, I can't even explain to you, because we are all good friends. And Leslie's carrying on that tradition with
Yes.
being gone, right? Even though we all stay together, right? But that 2016 year, to see what our school, what the two basketball programs together brought to the school, the excitement around the school. And when we had the state championship, half the school was at the Siegel Center. The other half was in classrooms watching it on
The little satellite. Yeah.
watching the games. Everybody was watching the games, and you're watching both. And I remember we played first,
Yep. I
right?
remember.
And we blew the team out.
Oh, man, it wasn't even no project. I think Gino was there that game. Gino Oriema was there.
Now he came the next year.
Okay. I remember he was at one of those games. Okay.
And I'll tell you that story in a second. But anyway, so we won the first game, and we won pretty easily. Well, RJ's sitting up in the stands.
I'm like, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And he's sitting up in the stands, and he's thinking, and I'm feeling for him, because when the game's over, I said to I said, man, Leslie and Kara, I said, I'm so glad we played first, because I'd hate to sit there and cheer for RJ and just be a nervous wreck about my game, right?
Right.
But so RJ was up there cheering for us, and then, and I know they had to be nervous wreck, sitting there waiting for their game. So then they come out for their game, and we're sitting up there cheering for them, but we're relaxed because we've already won, right? And then when they win that close game, we get down there with 2 minutes to go, so we can greet them, and you guys ended up winning at the buzzer, and the excitement was incredible. I mean, the school, and again, I think at the time, were we the first or the third?
Second, maybe the second time.
First, second, or third team
Virginia High School.
that ever in Virginia High School League won the boys and girls the same year. And so it was just incredible. And I think it's something that always ties us together. The program is really family with the coaches. It's continued that way with Leslie. And there'll be a day where RJ steps down, and he'll probably end up doing the same thing, So it's kind of cool.
Close.
And we are. And I'm a better golfer. And so.
Okay.
I'll give him that. I get
He
close.
threw that in there, right?
I get close.
So, and I told him at a pep rally one day, we were in a boys girl pep rally for the basketball teams. I grabbed the microphone and I said, who's the better golfer? I'm a better golfer.
Wow.
Better golfer.
Man, every time I go to a game, no matter if y'all not playing, I can look up in the stands. No matter where it is, y'all are in the stands. Whether it's YouTube and Leslie, Kara, other coach Leslie Johnson. It be somebody. The whole team. Y'all always there supporting each other. This is like, and I'm just like, man, y'all really built a culture over there for now where kids can come in and it's like, okay, now I got something to look forward to, because the programs, again, wasn't there. And that's why I want to give you guys your flowers, because, again, maybe if I was 2 or 3 years behind, we would have been Chiefs, you know what I'm saying? And that's where it tended to be. And like I said, man, but now it's just different. They got a new gym over there. It's just really nice. And I just think, man, that the culture that has just changed over there, man. This is what I always envisioned, but I just didn't know that was actually going to happen. And I thought we were going to be a part of that process, but it just didn't work out that way. But y'all doing a fantastic job, man. It's just I don't know what to say, but Coach, I gotta ask y'all some questions, man, about this VHSL. And I know you're gonna be limited. You're still coaching, so you can't really say too
Well, listen,
much.
they have me sending emails to VHSL now about
Because I'm
stuff.
like, because I know, because I'm just, I don't understand like their reasoning, their thinking behind some of the stuff that they do. Just like, oh my God, like, were they making schedules? They won't making the schedules up as they go now. Like before, like you can just pick who you want to play.
Right.
Why is, when did that change?
Well, what happened is it's the new AD versus the old AD. I'm talking about locally, right?
You're talking about our game schedule, right?
By your game schedule, right? As far as the teams you
So you
choose
used to
pick and
play everybody twice, right?
Right, that's where it used to
It
be.
used
In the
to be.
Dominion District.
In the
Everybody-
Dominion District,
pick-
right.
You would pick your 6 games. But as these new ADs came in and their coaches want to talk, well, we don't want to play this team twice. We don't want to play this team, And one of the reasons they put the districts together were schools like With, who if you didn't force everybody to play them twice, they wouldn't have the games, right?
Right.
I'm talking about girls basketball.
Right, but girls basketball, right.
And so that's the way it was. Well, we had Pat Ferguson as the AD, then we had Danny Parsons the AD, and they stuck to those rules. But other people in the Dominion changed them. The Colonial started changing them. Maggie Walker got out of playing everybody, and they started picking and choosing who they're playing. And so that's kind of where you're seeing. And part of it, I think, is the 6 divisions. I think before the 6 divisions, I think now some of these schools are trying to get points to host games.
Yep.
Here's the other thing. Back 10, 15 years ago, we were playing the quarterfinals
Yep.
at a neutral site,
Yep.
big site, right? We were playing the state semis at the Siegel Center
Yep.
and the finals. That's what a state championship run should look like.
It should.
And now you're not doing that at all. The only thing you're doing is you're playing a state championship game, which there's so many of them that you get on the court at a certain time and you better get off. It's not like you take a bunch of pictures. You get 5 minutes to take pictures.
Yeah, if you win, you get 5 seconds to celebrate. Don't even get to cut down the nets.
That's nothing.
And on to the next.
So it's all changed. And I think the powers that be at the VHSL and the ADs have forgotten what it's like to be a student athlete, and to be able to accomplish that, you should be able to celebrate that. And a state championship game should feel like a state
It should feel
championship
like a
game.
state championship.
A state semifinal game I shouldn't be playing state semifinal game at Midlothian High School.
No, no, it should be a neutral area.
Exactly. Well,
I mean,
and we used to do, if you remember, when we had the AAA, AA, single A, Hanover was the only school that had a big enough gym to house us.
Yep.
Because you had to have so many 3,500 or something. And so all of our quarterfinal games for our local team that finished first would be there. And we would end up traveling to Robinson and playing.
Yep, Rob. It was always at Robinson.
Right.
Yep, if you lost.
But that was a big thing. It's just they've taken a lot away from it. And, whether it be in the name of money, I don't agree with a lot of stuff they do, but I think that they've ruined the excitement. I mean, you still have excitement, but they've taken something away from it,
So, Coach Spelsberg, would you like to see the old format come back to AAA, AA?
I'm not against that. I'll play basketball against whomever or wherever, but I think that was a cool format. Do I like the format that we have now? I like it. Do I think it's
Well, if you had to
interesting?
make any adjustments, what would it be, or would that?
Well, I just think the point system needs to be equal across the whole state.
Right.
Because it's not equal, and you can't play the same people, and we're still tied down to the Dominion District, which is 18 of our 23 games. So
And the thing is, you're playing Division 5, Division 6 schools.
Right.
And so you're not getting any points for playing those schools. And then the old AA schools, up in Fredericksburg, part of our region,
Right.
and the Hanover schools, they're playing each other and they're getting the same amount of points for us playing Cosby, us playing
Manchester.
us playing Manchester. It's crazy
How is that? Wait a minute, they're bigger schools.
because the new ADs, and I don't give a shit.
Right.
Excuse me.
No, you're fine.
I don't care because I'm gone, right? But the new ADs came in and took over. And the fact was they kind of controlled it because when they first started this sixth division, and I think there should be four, but if you look at our six, we're equal to like other states in numbers. Like Georgia, their divisions are the same size as ours.
Right.
But I think four would be a good number instead
Right.
of three. But
I agree with that.
yeah, so
I can do with
four is a good number. But it used to be when they first did this, we would get for wins. Okay, everybody got 7 points for a win. Okay, and then if you got a loss, you got 0 points unless you played somebody bigger than you. So if we played Bird, which was Division 5, we would get 1 point. If we would play Cosby, which was Division 6, we get 2 points.
Right.
Well, that was the difference between us and the Fredericksburg AA schools
Right.
that we're able to host because we're playing tougher competition.
Right.
There is nothing. Football has it.
Right.
There is nothing for basketball because it's too much work for people to do. And again, man, they've ruined it. I think they've ruined it. And they've ruined the excitement. RJ gets screwed. Leslie gets screwed every year.
Yeah.
When Midlow was Division 4, they were getting screwed because they're playing all Division 5s and Division 6s and not getting any credit for those games.
And it's crazy because I look at what happened to Verona. Well, actually, not Verona, Kings Fork. Where Kings Fork had to come up here and travel to play Verona 2 years in a row. I thought it was supposed to rotate, but I guess that doesn't work because Kings Fork had the better record. Verona had lost 1 or 2 games, but Verona got to host the home game. And I'm like, wait a minute, well, how do you reward the undefeated teams?
Let me tell you another joke about it is that 804 always has to play 757.
Always have
So
to do
the
that.
2 best basketball teams are all 99% of the time, not always,
Right.
but 90% of the time are those 2, and you always got to knock each other out.
Right.
And so the West gets to play easier competition there.
And so do Northern Virginia. Let's not forget them too. They,
It's crazy. So you see, especially on the girls' side more than the boys,
right.
you see blowouts in the state championship game because Hampton's playing this team or Lake Taylor or Monacan's playing a team from the West. It's going to be a blowout.
Right.
But your tough game was your semifinal.
The semi game, right.
Because you had to play the 7-5-7 team. And so I think, and it's all about money, which I understand money plays a part in it. But again, you're talking about a once in a lifetime thing for these kids and you're taking away from them. When it first started, they rotated. You had 4 regions
Right.
and they rotated. There was a rotating basis on the VHSL schedule. Region A played Region B this year. Next year, Region A plays Region C. And they rotated and then they stopped it. It's crazy.
I'm going to ask both of y'all this question since both of y'all did both. Which one was easier coaching, the public or the private? I'm going to start with you, Coach.
I like coaching in the public school better. I think it's more exciting. I think you get a little bigger fan base at your games. And I had a good experience when I coached. I coached at Blessed Sacrament Huguenot. I coached at the Stewart School and had some good teams. Went to state tournament at Stewart School. I just find it for me right now more rewarding in the public school setting. I like the fans at Monacan. I like the kids that I've been able to coach. Now, if you probably asked me 10 or 11 years ago when I was in private school, I probably would have said the private. But no, I've really liked my experience at Monacan. Even Maggie Walker was a great experience. But the fans and the kids that I've coached have probably made that difference in my mind right now, I would say.
Coach Starr?
It's there's a little bit of both, but I would tell you, as much as we cut on VHSL,
Yes.
okay, VHSL is head and shoulders above Vista. Okay. So and this is not, Kara and I love each other to death, right?
Right.
Not a cut on her because she kind of runs women's basketball, but it's a money thing right now.
Right.
So the state championship game for two schools is being played, two divisions being played at Stewart. The state
Yep.
championship game for the other two is being played at St. Gertrude.
It's St. Gertrude.
Well, what kind of environment? I mean, it's a nice environment, but it's not the Siegel Center.
It's not.
You know? And I know the new guy that came in, Adam, is talking about changing that and maybe going like to the new Henrico Center that they have. They need something like that. It's just, and the thing is, the rules. And Kara told me best. You try to hold somebody to the rules in private schools. They said we're private. We can do whatever we want. There are no rules. Now, there's very few rules in VHSL that get enforced, right? But on Vista, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I think the public school was better. I agree with RJ. The public school, Monacan's 1,500 students.
Right.
Blessed Sacrament, we had 100 students at the high school level approximately, right? So there's a big difference. Now, I had a lot of fun this year coaching at Blessed Sacrament. I'm going to stay there until I'm done coaching.
Okay.
I've had opportunities to go elsewhere. I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna stick it out there, and I love the kids. You got a sports AD, Chuck Thomas, who used to be at Bird,
I
right?
remember him. Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the AD. You got Tracy Hamner, who used to coach James River and was a college coach for a little bit. He's the head of schools. They got a great football program. They got a great volleyball coach. They got a very good baseball coach. They just brought in the softball coach. Was at Monacan when I was coaching basketball. They brought me in. They got a pretty good boys coach. So you're seeing all that. It's the right people are in position to bring some people in, right? And hopefully we'll start getting some players come in because all the sports programs are very successful there. But when we have a big game at Blessed Sacrament, and RJ's been at a couple, we have maybe 150 people in the gym. When we had a big game at Monacan, we had 2,000 people in
Yeah,
the
it's
gym.
a big
right?
difference.
And so from that standpoint, but the kids are kids. They work hard, they try hard. I'm enjoying coaching. And I'm trying to build a culture there that we started at Monacan, trying to do that. So it's a new challenge for me, but I'm enjoying it.
What are your expectations for this year's team coming up 24? Would it be 24-25 season for BSH this year?
I will tell you this, and this is no lie. Every year at Monacan, every year at Blessed Sacrament, every year I've coached, my goal is to win a state championship. We have always won. At Monacan, we've always won. We've gotten close, but you know what? So what? You don't get there, but that's the goal, And we have some minor goals, win the conference, things like that. Well, it's the same situation at Blessed Sacrament. This year, we started out rough because we played a lot of public schools.
Okay.
And I came on late. So, we struggled at the beginning. But I kept trying to build the girls up. Hey, by the time we get to conference in January, you'll see a difference. And they did. We finished third in the conference. And the baseball coach who's been there 20-some years told me that we're the first team there in the girls to get to the state quarters. So we got to state quarters and got beat. So our goal is to get to the state championship. I tell the girls that, we have some other goals, win the conference, and I don't believe if you don't set that goal high, you'll never reach it. And I've always believed that. I can remember years and years ago walking and when I could running in the mornings before school, dreaming of the day we get Monacan to the state championship, And if you don't have that dream, it's never going to happen.
And if you dream it, it might happen.
I heard that somewhere before.
But it's crazy to sit and think that I mean, you're right. You dream about things and you made it happen. It's you can do it, and you're living proof. If you dream about stuff and you put the hard work in, you're going to accomplish it.
And not to bore you at all, but I will tell you,
This is great.
I stepped out from coaching, for a year. I went to RJ's games. I went to Leslie's games.
Yeah, man. I saw you. I was like,
Listen, I was there. There was games Kara played at 5. I'd be at Kara's game, then I'd run to RJ's game, And so I'm out 5-6 days a week. This is no lie. I go home and I'm just bitching about stuff, and my wife would say, I need you to find a coaching job. This is horrible.
And that's what I was going
know,
to say. I remember messing with RJ. I'm like, you might well be coaching.
I need you to find a coaching job. I said, no, it's not that. I just said, it's just killing me not coaching. I didn't know how much it would impact me. It impacted me a lot.
Wow.
And so after that year, you know, I was going to I started looking boys and girls. I wanted to stay away from him. I wanted to stay away from Kara and Les. And so I started looking for coaching positions. And he was part of the reason I got the Blessed Sacrament job, because he was friends with the head of schools who passed on to the AD, and the AD knew me from Monacan. And so we're at the Monacan golf tournament, and Chuck calls me and said, look, man, I got the girls' job open. Are you interested? I said, I absolutely am. Let's talk a little bit. I got to finish this tournament. Right? And so I went there, but I'm telling you, I never realized how much of an impact not coaching would be. Now, and they're going to kill me for saying this, because I said to them all the time, if Kara or Leslie had let me assist, I would have been fine, because they coach like I do, right? They learn under me. I can understand Leslie, Kara, not so much, but I do understand. She tells me all the time, you'd be the head coach. I said, I won't be the head. But because that assistant position never came, when the Blessed Sacrament head job came, I took it, and it's a totally different challenge than what I had at Monacan.
Right.
And I'm enjoying it again. I'm enjoying coaching. I tell them, we meet all the time, and I said, the one thing is, you guys are talking about some top players here, top players there, and I'm just trying to build this program. So I still feel a little bit like the stepchild,
And I don't think you understand how we feel, because we support you, but like, I personally have almost been in the exact same shoes you have been. Like, I was the coach of Blessed Sacrament before I got to Monacan, and now it's like we've reversed roles.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I understand where you're coming from, but I just want you to know that we all support. And I know sometimes it doesn't seem that way, but
no, and I know that because we are close.
Man, y'all all close. I love it, man. And that was said, every time I see y'all all sit together. And sometimes I'll just manage to come out and just happen to sit behind y'all and I'll be like, let me just hear what the coaches talk about, just kind of y'all perspective on the games, especially the Siegel Centers and stuff like that, man. It's always good to see the coaches in the stands and just have you guys talk about what the game plan is, what should have been done or what shouldn't have been done. I just love it, man. And just seeing y'all relationship. I remember I was at the DMV Live about, early in June, and I saw Kara. I was sitting behind the bench, and Kara was talking. I think she was talking to Ava or Eva tonight. And I said, psst, psst. I said, Kara, you sound like Larry when you was over there. And she was like, she said, really? I said, yeah, you sound just like Larry. She was like, come over here, or something like this. And I was like, yeah. And I said, you got to tell Pat. But, but Coach, I just want to kind of ask you a couple of questions here. How do you feel about Coach RJ? I mean, just like, I know you say, oh yeah, we're close and everything like that, but how do you feel about him? Like, what do you think about?
Well, first off, I love him as a person, right? But we even do things with families together sometimes. But I love him as a person, love his kids, love his wife. But as a basketball coach, what he's brought to Monacan, and he is right. It was me and Danny sitting in the rooms saying, we're going to hire RJ for this position, from our previous experiences with him. And he came in and turned the program around, and
He has.
we don't coach the same way. I mean, we
No, you
coach
don't.
differently.
Totally different.
Right, totally different. But the football coach at Monacan, who we're also friends with, told me one time, there's 100 different ways to coach and successfully. And so I'm more old school. He's kind of a mix of old school
Yeah,
and young
he got
school.
that cool temper.
Right.
You know what I'm
He's
saying?
a little bit better with that I'm not good with.
Oh, you'll blow a gasket in a minute, Coach.
Yeah, exactly. And I watch him and I respect everything he's done. I think he's a great coach. I will tell you this too. You talk about us all sitting at each other's games. So RJ will have a game, And so we'll all go in. For a while, I wasn't able to go in. Leslie didn't let me go in when I first separated from Monacan. But now we'll go into the coach's office and talk about stuff. And so RJ will bring it up. Rick will bring stuff up. And, and so I see some stuff in stands you see in stands you don't see on the sideline. But I always say, and who would ever thought I'd be the positive one, right? I always say positive stuff first. Man, you guys did this while you did this. Maybe you can do this a little bit better. And, and because I do that, RJ's always agreeable, and
RJ,
I don't have a lot to critique because I think he does a great job. Man, Leslie and Kara come in and all they are.
You try the same approach.
Right. And we'll leave and we'll walk out to the cars. And I said, Leslie, RJ just took a 2-point loss and you just lit him up in there. What the hell's wrong? And she said, oh, yeah, you're right. I should have taken it easy. I said, that's the difference between us.
But we're talking about animation on the sidelines of old
God.
Maggie Walker story.
Okay.
So my brother-in-law Garrett used to coach with me at Maggie Walker when we first started out, and we're sitting down we always used to sit at the end on these chairs at the end of his bench, and he got so mad at the officials one time.
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't know, you said you were 40. He did the most unbelievable back roll, like complete backwards somersault, came back up with his hands like this, yelling at the officials. Talking about animation, it was the most athletic move I've ever seen from a coach.
Hey, I used to be an athlete.
Hey, you got to tell us about that, Coach.
He doesn't do that anymore, I'm sure.
No, I can't do it now.
It's one of the funniest stories that we go back and rehash all the time.
The difference between then and now is I was at his Cosby game, and me and Kara and Les and Danny Parsons are up there. So after the game, we're walking down to talk to him, right? And, I'm an old man now, so I'm walking down. I missed the damn last step. I fell flat on my face.
God.
I hurry up, popped up, and they are all laughing behind me saying, man, we never knew you could get up that fast. I said, it was embarrassing. The assistant AD from Cosby came over and said, all I want to know is, do we have that on film? Because the people here would love to see that. But that's the difference. Then I did it on purpose. Now I do it unintentionally.
So you had some sprains back then.
Man, I'm telling you, like you come into a gym, man, you see Larry on them sidelines, man, he be intense, man. I remember you coached some of those younger teams back in 05, 06, 07. Man, you tell them girls to stand right there, and you just like, but they come back and they respond, they play well. It was never like to the point where it was just like, oh, you just killed my spirit and stuff like that. Some players, if you know that you come to Monica, you know what you're going to deal with when you go to Larry Starr. You already know that.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so when you watch Larry practice and coach, you're like, man, this guy is hard. He is mean. Like
hard, right.
He's scary, right? But you don't know what he does for his players once they've graduated.
I see. I've heard that.
Because they all love him. They all call him. They all text him. He does everything for him. Like, he'll drive out of his way, do this, do that. Anything you want, he'll do for his players. And I think that's what people get a misinterpretation of him about. They don't understand how good of a person he is to his players. Not just when they're there, but after they leave.
Yeah, I hear a lot of players say that.
And
appreciate that.
I mean, you do. You're always in contact with your old players. And that's what makes him special coach. And it's not absolutely X's and O's awesome.
Right.
One of the best to do it. And like you said, we've all said you got to have some players to win. We all know that. But he's one of the best practices. But if you watch it, you're going to be like, I don't want to do that as a player.
Man.
But he loves them, and they appreciate and support him as soon as they're gone.
I can't think of the girl name, and that's why I hadn't brought it up. But she played for Larry. She was, I want to say it was maybe the 09, 10, or 11 team, point guard, little small girl. And I think she went to school in New York or something like that. She played ball for you. And she always told me, she said, y'all don't know what Coach Starr does for us. Can't think of her name. Oh my God, young black girl. And she used to always.
Karen Leslie.
But it's almost like when you're graduating, it's like, I'm proud. I played for Larry Starr.
Right.
That's who I play for Larry Starr.
Poland?
Yeah, I think that's her. I think that's her, Keela. Yeah, she was like, oh my God, you don't think like, or what we did, and Larry does this, and he get all us in school, and you just hear all the things of just like, I mean, I've been hearing this for years, like I said, but that's all we talk about. So you, what RJ's saying, he's spot on with that. I mean, this is just done. We just said it to the podcast. I know what some of the kids, and I tell them I'm one of the few adults that are in the stands. Like I was trying to tell one of the players that was on the podcast, like, yo, you don't know what goes on off set. Like you may hear like the players, and I'm in there with the parents and with the kids. I guess, everybody just kind of doubted me. I'm kind of a big kid myself, but I hear what they say. And it's not to the point where it's like, of course you're gonna have a few people that might don't like you. It's a whole lot of people that might don't like me. It is what it is. But you've done a great job with them. They talk about how much, oh man, you care, you do this, you come to the games, you do this. That's just not a cliche thing. I know, trust me.
Well,
And if anybody, you hear that from me. Because I know what they used to tell me. So, and that's why I used to come to the practices and come to the games. I remember one time, I don't know if you remember this, coach. I can't remember. You had, what's the name was a coach with you? Coach Cat.
Cat ready.
Yep, Cat Ready. Yep. Amari's mom. And I remember one year I had, and I don't know if you remember, I had bought y'all like this big thing of vitamin water one time. And I was like, man, I said, man, they are so cool. I'm going to bring y'all some vitamin water time. But I remember she was coach. She kept looking at me. She was like, what did we do to deserve that? I said, y'all just good. Y'all just good. So y'all keep doing this. And my nephew was there. I was like, man, I'm just going to just come support. So I just always come to the game. Even my neighbors started coming to the game and just support because y'all was just competitive.
Yeah,
so
well,
I just want to say, man, y'all was just doing daggone thing.
And I love Cat ready.
Yeah, that's my girl. Cat, good people. Shout out to Cat, man. Look, I'm gonna ask y'all some questions, right? We get y'all out here because I might be putting y'all on the spot. Y'all might not do it. If y'all had to name a couple of players, who would? Oh, I'm kind of putting you spot. Yeah, who was one of the best players that you ever coached at Monacan?
There's so many. Of course, Megan got the most recognition, and she deserved it.
And I'm talking about, it could be as a player or as a person, because I know like there's a combination. Of course, everybody will say he's gonna say Megan, and it might not be Megan.
Well, I will tell you, and this is not to leave anybody out because
Or it could
all
be
the
from
players,
BSH.
yeah, all the players,
Michael Walker.
and I'll talk about that in a second. All the players that stay with me and work so hard
Next.
for me, I could talk about them all, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, I have been so lucky with point guards.
Mm-hmm.
It started with Jasmine as an assistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Then Amari Reddy.
Mm-hmm.
Then Keela Poulin.
Mm-hmm.
Then Cara Basile.
Mm-hmm.
Then after Cara, probably Michaela Parson,
Mm-hmm.
Alex Parson,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Hodges.
Man, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, every one of those kids played in college.
Yeah, and I've seen all those girls play.
They're all tough.
You
And
had
all great.
Wow.
And they were leaders. Every one of them was a leader.
I love Keela too, because like I said, Keela, I always had a relationship with her like off the court. Like she used to come talk to me, that's like, Mr. Larry, blah, 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 blah. And she was very knowledgeable. And she said those things like, I remember when this such and such plays, I remember when such and such plays. So man, I was like, that list that you said, Amari, she was tough.
Right.
Like,
And they all
coach them tough, like, or you just happen to inherit tough point
Well,
guard?
I mean, they had to buy into me, right? And they did. They bought into me, and every one of those girls at one time or another cried at practice, right? Jordan Hodges came and talked to my Blessed Sacrament kids at Liberty Team Camp, and one of the things he said, or she said, made me laugh because she said, "Look, one thing you know about him is nobody is special." Right? Everybody's treated the same. So I show up to practice one day, a few minutes late because of my mother. It was at 6 a.m, and I had to run 35 baselines for time, 5 at a time, and and I broke down. But they all bought into my system. They all bought into me, and they were such leaders. Like I couldn't have done what I did without them, their leadership skills. So you talk about that. At Blessed Sacrament, I come in, the previous coach, they haven't had a season in a while, right? A winning season. And I had two seniors, Charlie Potter and Lily Hickey. And if these girls as seniors hadn't bought in, I would have lost everybody, because that's a whole different ball game out there. They're all playing different sports.
Oh yeah.
And then you get treated, you get worked so hard, when you're not used to being worked hard. Is basketball really worth it? And these seniors just took that lead role this year, and that big losses for me next year, right? But they took that lead role. And so I would put them right up there with any of my Monacan players anytime, because the players got to buy in, and your leaders and your best players got to buy in. And if they don't, you can't be successful.
And you had a lot. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking of not only the point guards. I'm thinking of some of the other girls that you didn't had, man. I'm like, yeah, Raven Williams. She played with you.
And let's talk about Raven.
Come on, come on. That's come on. Bring it here.
Raven, I pull her aside. And Jaden was the same way, right? I say, look, you're playing the four for me. You will never play the four in college, but my fours will get scholarships into college, right? Because our stuff is mostly guard stuff. You'll never play with your back to the basket, but these players got to buy in. Raven bought in, Jaden bought in. So they were fours for me, even though they were 5'6", 5'7",
Right.
up playing guard in college.
Right.
And again, the players got to buy in. And if they don't buy in, you just can't be successful. And that's what I'm working on now with the players and the parents that I have at Blessed Sacrament.
Wow. RJ, you up next, man. Give me some players that you've seen.
Well, you have to recognize my all-state players that I've had at Monacan. Cliff Robinson, 6'10" kid. Joe Bamasil, first team All-State as well. Rasheed Daniels, first team All-State. Leading scorer in school's history. Alden Parham, first team, and then Miles Loving. So, statistically and, as far as helping us get to the next level, those players made first team All-State and did some very good things for us that we're proud of. As far as guys that mean so much to the program and give back to the program and were really good players, and some of them were all region, maybe didn't make All-State. Darian Peterson, a kid that was a really good player for us, but he comes back all the time, helps the kids practice. Elijah Bradley, who was he's actually buddies with Mondo, I think.
Yeah.
He, was a role player for us on the state championship team. Played minimal minutes, but he's the one that's back at like all our practices, all our games, all our summer league games. Like he's really bought into what we're trying to do at Monacan. Like, so he supports. So he when you say best player,
yes, coachable player.
like he's one of them. That doesn't mean he was, All-State or anything like that, but he was outstanding. Now, as far as like the ultimate gentleman, like the guy that you are proud of, and he went out after Monacan, and you're like, wow, he's Monacan basketball. You think of Alden Parham.
Right.
I mean, third all time in the state in assists, led us to that state championship run, was state player of the year when he only averaged 12 points a game.
Which is unheard of.
Went to a tough school in VMI.
Yep.
And then, South Alabama, now he's playing overseas.
Overcame.
I mean, from, knee surgeries to broken wrists, to just meaning so much the program, comes back as soon as he gets back in the country, works our kids out. He's a good kid. He put Monacan along with some others on their back and helped me get where I'm at. So I greatly appreciate those guys. As far as like saying, oh, this guy was the best, like, this guy could pass better, this guy could dunk better. But those guys, and, you have like the people like the Ogich, her brother was the glue to them.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he did nothing but, he didn't want to score all the time. He wanted to, get rebounds, and, he was a glue guy. But there's one kid that is what I see as Monacan basketball too in the last couple of years, and it's Jordan Hodges' brother, Malcolm Hodges. He's a kid we cut his freshman year. Sophomore year, we kept him on JV, and he didn't even start or play. Junior year, he starting on varsity. His senior year, he was first team all region.
Wow.
almost 20 points a game, 9 rebounds a game, to going to Randolph-Macon to play. And the coach up there said, I don't know, I like him. I want him, but he's, he might not ever get off the bench, to starting for Macon his freshman year, to beating Hampton-Sydney when they were number 1 in the country at Hampton-Sydney, leading Macon in scoring. So that's what makes a coach proud, is like kids that don't necessarily get it, or we don't get that kid early on and they just forget about us as coaches and like do it on their own and then start shining later on. Like, he didn't quit because we, gave up on him his freshman year. Like, he went and practiced with Larry's team.
Wow.
And helped him as a manager and got better. And like, he's one of my favorite players at Monacan, just because of his work ethic and his attitude. He's energetic, he hustles, great family. But he's a great story. As coaches, when we're coaching, like 90% during the season, the parents and the kids don't like you all the time because, they don't like, oh, I'm not playing enough.
Yeah,
You're not playing my son. But they don't understand what goes into it all. But
Right.
kids like that don't care, and they do what they're just I'm going to play basketball. Those end up being like some of your favorite kids. And Alden was one of those kids. Darian was one of those kids. Like Elijah, you just want kids that, I just want to play basketball. I'm blocking out the noise.
Yep. I want to hoop.
I'm not about all the shine and stardom. You just want to play. And that's who you end up gravitating towards as your favorite players. That for me anyways. But they're all great in my mind. They've all helped me. So
No,
if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense to me because, like I said, I just wanted to know. I've always do that because you guys have that glow. It's like that championship glow. Like when I see you guys, man, you guys don't be stressing. You guys just sit back and y'all just be cool. All of y'all be collected, just and I just thank y'all for even accepting me because whenever RJ, every time I see you, man. You always greet me. It's always cool. Coach, I didn't even know you. You always say, man, you're doing a great job and thank you. And I said, I'm going to get you one day. I'm going to get you on the show.
Yeah.
And just what y'all did for this community, and I still call it the 23236 community. I want to thank y'all, man, because again, it was a fun time, man. I didn't even want to even say that I was in that district. We got even my former partner that I was on a podcast with. He wouldn't tell anybody he went to Monacan.
Mm-hmm.
I had a joke with him one time. I was like, Sean Armstrong, get him, man. He graduated from Monacan, but he'll claim 757, but you would never know that.
Right.
And now you guys, when you talk about Monacan, you can stick your chest out and say, man, I coach at Monacan. I wanted that. Y'all guys got that championship glow. When y'all win rings, y'all look a little different. You know what I'm saying? Y'all look a little different now. You know what I'm saying? You got that ring. Coach RJ, he over there's like, I'm a championship coach now. I can kind of coach a little different, stuff like that, but you're still intense. And coach, man, I just, you still got it, man. And like I said, whatever you want to do, happy retirement to you, man, because again, what you've done for the girls game in this area, again, I gravitated to the girls game. My mentor, rest in peace, is Coach Jean Atkins.
Mm-hmm.
I coached under her for 4 years, and she taught me a lot about the game, And I don't know how often y'all played Ken Wright go during her time was there, but she taught me a lot. And I just want to thank you, give you your flowers while you still here for what you do, both of you for what you do for the game, especially for you on the girls' side. Because now you see what the girls' game has gravitated to. Now everybody starts to talk about girls basketball. Before, you couldn't even get 50 people to come to a game, and those 50 people was probably parents.
And I don't think you probably believe this, but everybody's excited that you're coaching, and Blessed Sacrament Huguenot should be excited, and they should appreciate, and I'm sure they do, that they have such a great coach in person as you coaching there. And we, as your fans, Kara, Leslie, myself, and everybody that comes to your games, we saw the improvement from the first game till the end of the year with that group. And I think Blessed Sacrament is just, and those guys over there I'm sure they love you, but they're just lucky to have you. And we're excited that you're still coaching, and I'm glad you're still coaching and still come watch my games and still beat me at golf. But,
Gotta check that golf game out. Blessed Sacred Huguenot. Like I said, I'm in that area because that's where I work out of. I'm definitely going to come to your games this year, Coach. So you'll see Ballin and VA in there. So when you see the hoodie and stuff, but y'all got some stuff coming y'all way. Me and Zach were just talking about that. With you guys coming on, y'all gonna have some official stuff that we already got We already talked about that. We're going to hook y'all up, man, because, we're going to have the big rickstockel.com on the back, man. We're going to hook all of that stuff for y'all, man. But I wish you nothing but the best, Coach. And I thank you for coming on, which I hope your season, goes well in Visa this year. Y'all Division 2 or Division 3?
We're actually Division 4.
Division 4. Oh, wow. I'm way off.
Yeah, we're really small.
Well, wow. Well, but that's okay. But I wish you nothing but the best this season. Any shout outs, anybody besides Carol and Leslie? We know they're going to be watching this because they're your daughters. Let's go ahead and call them your daughters because, I said, hey, I'm getting Larry on it. Really? Oh, we can't wait to watch that. I said, you already know what it's going to be like,
Well, let me say this about Kara and Les, because I didn't mention it when we were talking earlier.
Your daughters.
It is one of the most proud moments of me when I go watch those two coach in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a proud moment. And sometimes I get caught up like they're my daughters. I got thrown out of Manchester.
What?
Fan.
Are you serious?
Another
Because I went nuts, and it brought back some old memories. I'm able to sit there and be calm, but I felt Leslie was getting a raw deal, and then I just kind of lost it, and so they escorted me out of the gym.
Wow. Well,
but
like I
I'm
said,
so proud of those two when I watch them because they coach like I coach, and I love watching those two coach just like I did when they played.
and like you said, seeing Leslie get to the state semifinals this year, man, and
she could have won.
It was so close. I mean, she was up like double digits at halftime, and I was like, Leslie's gonna pull this thing out, But again, just seeing that, I know that makes you proud as you be able to just see that, one of your own to be able to come back and coach a team like that, man. So I would say for her, she got nothing but, sky's the limit for her, and her group. And, she's going to continue to carry it on. And we see what Carol's doing over there at Stewart, doing an outstanding job. So, but any other shout outs that you want to have to your daughters, your family, anybody?
My daughters are great. My youngest just got married, who was my point guard.
Okay.
And she married a Monacan graduate from 2007. They both graduated the same year.
Okay.
And all three daughters have been great. My wife has been great. She's the one that pushed me back into coaching. So
kudos to the wife.
Yeah. And but I'm enjoying it. And she shows up at games. She goes and sits quietly. And then you talk about my toughest critic is I go, and she never played the damn sport. And I go home and she starts cutting on my team. And I said, Carol, you don't even know what's going on. This is what I want done. Well, then you're stupid. You shouldn't be.
Wow.
So she's learned a lot watching her daughters and me over the years.
Wow. Man, I'm telling you, like I said, you never know who's watching and who's your biggest fan and who's your biggest critic.
What about your grandson, though?
Oh, my
You've got to mention your grandson.
Stone. Yeah, I got one grandchild. My grandson Stone. He's got a lot of health issues, right? I just spent 4 days with him.
Okay.
But he is just the apple of my eye. I mean, we have a relationship. I think people that are close see the relationship that we have, even though it's long distance. We FaceTime every night. But we have a really, really special relationship. And one of the things my wife and I are arguing about is where are we going to move? I want to move close to my grandson, but my wife doesn't want to go north because they're at State College.
Oh,
and
I'm with her.
No, she wants to stay south. So, but yeah, my grandson Stone, and it's everything that I live for now.
Wow, man. Joe, kudos to him.
You.
RJ, any last words, any shout outs you want to give, man?
Just thanks again for having us on. I appreciate you supporting Larry and myself. And, it's a great show. I'm glad you do it and promote coaches and kids and everybody across the state of Virginia. And
always bad, y'all.
Hope the relationship continues with Rick as well. He's a great guy, and I know he loves your show. And just glad to be on here with Larry and his show, and talk about his success.
But I thank you, man, because again, you were one of my biggest supporters even before, we even met with Rick, man. And just, I see y'all, hey, coach, how you doing? The same thing with you. And again, I know y'all didn't know me. I was just a fan from afar, but I just want to thank y'all because y'all accepted me and bringing me to this. And even though, like I said, I'm in the Chief community, not necessarily my son was the Chief, but I kind of feel that way because had a son my nephew, who I always call my son, he graduated from Monacan in 2010. But I feel like I know all the players and just the history that in the last 20 years that I've been a part of the community. But, I didn't, but I felt like, man, I'm just watch these kids grow and watch you guys grow as people. Thank y'all, because y'all didn't have to accept me for being who I am and being to the program. I can't always make it to the games, but I'm always around. And I just want to just help grow the game and just bring more interest to the state of Virginia because we have a lot of great coaches and a lot of great athletes here that I think that everybody in the country should know about. We hear about Texas, we hear about Florida, but we in Virginia, we can talk too now. We got some big dogs around here. So I just thank y'all for even allowing somebody like me. I'm no journalist. I'm a sports enthusiast. So,
Well, you do a great job, and I appreciate you asking me because once I stepped away, I think I kind of went to the backside of everybody, and so when you asked me to come on, I really appreciated it, and I enjoy just talking about the past.
and man, we're gonna have to do another one because we didn't even get to like a lot of this stuff, man. But I just wanted to kind of get you on here because again, you're still coaching. So anytime you want to come on and RJ, again, thank you, man. Thank you so much. Taking time out of your busy schedule.
Absolutely.
Coming over here today. Because I know you always busy, man. So and that way, I think I interrupted one of your it was at a camp or something, the Darrell golf game or something like that.
Oh, you're good, man. Anytime, man.
But no, thank you. But yeah, man. But we're gonna close this out, man, and thank everybody for watching. Ball in the VA and being a part of this thing. We need y'all likes and subscribe and shares and all these things. We want everybody to get out here. That's how we kind of keep the lights on, and we're gonna say we're out. I appreciate y'all watching the episode again today, y'all. Go over, make sure that y'all check out my man, rickstockel.com for any of your home buying needs. Appreciate it. Thanks again.